The Team House with your hosts, Jack Murphy and David Park.
But can we go to Amaria?
Amaria. Oh, that was another walk in the park day. I remember that one. Yeah, so that was 19 March 2004. That's the specific date we're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, oh man, it was, we were hitting Ramadi, Fallujah, Amaria. It was a triangle out west of Baghdad. And 03, 04, 05, 06, you guys, it was the wild, wild west out there. It was a lot of Al-Qaeda, and they were having foreign fighters just by the droves come into that area. And we had hit a target in Fallujah the night of the 18th through that period of darkness, and got some information off that target that there was another guy that we were looking for that would be at a house in Fallujah at 10 that morning. So, we were like, daytime. We had done no day mission since 3 October 93 in the Battle of the Black Sea. And so Sergeant Major just told us, hey, you guys just, go out there and land. We're going to drive to this house, get this guy, or, look for him. And, if something comes up, we'll just call you. So, it's just a couple minute response to, if they needed us, we could get there. But he didn't want to expose us for the daytime. So I hit that target, got the guy. So they came back and they told us, hey, go back to Bayat, go back to Baghdad International Airport and go down for a while. So we did, and it was this after 12, we got a call that there was, and then off of that target, they got intel that there was another guy we were looking for in Amaria, which was south of Fallujah. So over the previous weeks, there have been, I think, 7 helicopters shot down in that triangle between Ramadi, Fallujah, and Amaria. And I don't think there were any survivors. There's been a couple Chinooks and 58s and Blackhawks. So bad place. And so there was a tick with that recce team. So we jumped in the aircraft to, go help them. And they're like, hey, they're in trouble. Troops in contact was a call. And we just assumed they'd been ambushed coming out of that target. So we got on station. It was 13:15 local, 1:15 p.m. there in Iraq. Of course, it was daylight. And I mean, every one of us, the hair was standing up on our necks. But we're like, hey, we're going. So, if they need us, then we're going to be there for them. And got on station, and long story short, we're getting ready to exfil, and I got hit with a missile that I never saw. And it came to be, it was an SA-16 system, so that's a pretty highly advanced system for that time of period. And they didn't even think there were any in the country, the SA-7s and, things like that. But I have a theory about all that. I talk about it in the book. But, I was in a climbing right-hand turn, and when the missiles hit, and it has a proximity fuse. So what a proximity fuse does, for those of you that don't know, is they'll set it to a distance, so like 3 feet or 10 feet or whatever, and then that fuse will detonate, so they get maximum shrapnel into the engine or into the aircraft, whatever they're shooting the missile at. It's pretty advanced. It's a heat seeker, so it goes for the engine when it's shot. Actually, 2 of the guys, they saw the shot from a 2-story building on the very west side of the Ville there, and it hit, and it was a huge explosion. I mean, it sounded like, big breach in charge, or, a mortar, pretty close proximity. And I remember out of the corner of my eye, I saw this, this flame went by me and my co-pilot. So the left seat said, yeah, this meter long white hot rod went right by my head. So it kind of got shot at an angle and then detonated and hit the aircraft. And of course the big explosion. So that was a clue right there. I was like, uh-oh. Then things got real quiet. The engine quit running, and you have warnings in the aircraft. So if you get a low engine RPM or low rotor, they start beeping. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, man, I wish those things would shut the heck up. I know I'm hit. I know the engine quit. I know I'm in an auto rotation, and I've got this. I'm good. But at that second, and the best way I can explain this is it was like a movie that went frame by frame by frame. I mean, and I understand the physiological effects under stress, and we start dumping adrenaline, and all these things start going. You guys have been there, but yeah, it was. And my biggest concern was there's nothing to judge your height out there for an airplane guy or a helicopter pilot, especially doing an emergency procedure as an auto rotation. You need to use those things to start your decel, because there's very particular things that we have to do as a pilot to get that aircraft safely on the ground. So I kept glancing at the radar altimeter, and the whole time I could, I heard a few radio calls, but you're just so focused at the task at hand. And of course, when it hit, a big explosion, I was like, okay, it's time to go to work. So get it in trim, step on that pedal, control my rotor, watch my altitude, 75 feet. I started my decel, and then 15 feet, I leveled it, because I thinking to myself, I was real heavy, I was full of gas, full of ammo, and I had a tailwind. I had the worst conditions I could have to conduct an auto rotation, that helicopter. And that particular helicopter falls like a greased crowbar when you're not loaded. I mean, they just don't. I mean, they sink at 2,700 feet per minute. So I was about 165 feet above the ground when the missile hit. When a climbing right-hand turn, I was headed southwest. I remember, because I just swooped the boys, and kind of did the wave. We're like, we're out of here, And I said, I'm gonna pull everything I have right before I touch down. That's what I did. And we touched down, and the other aircraft said, man, it was the prettiest auto rotation he had ever seen. So I was like, okay, that's good. We touched down, and we slid probably about 35 meters, and the skids went down a bit of a slope. Of course, I'm thinking to myself, oh, yes, we got this, I'm going to get this thing stopped. And as soon as we touched down, though, that dust and dirt just filled the cockpit, and you can't see. And the skids stuck in some soft dirt, so we started to roll end over end. We rolled multiple times, and I think at some point I was knocked out for a short time, and the co-pilot was. And I came to, and of course, we came to rest inverted, so upside down. And the helicopter was on fire. And again, two of the guys had seen the missile shot, so they immediately started to suppress that building. One was a Ranger, and the other was one of the Delta guys. And then the other AH went to work, shooting, trying to suppress stuff back on that side, because it just kind of stirred a hornet's nest at that time. And, anytime we have an event like that, parachute or fast roping or in a helicopter, you're going to go through those checks. Like, okay, I can move my toes, I can move my feet, my legs are kind of working, check my package, okay, it's good, my arms, and so I'm just going through these, and it's all slow motion. And I look over at the co-pilot, he's got blood all over his face. So, I think to myself, well, did he get hit? And the little bird was somewhat infamous for the shoulder harness not locking in a crash sequence, especially in a roll. So I thought, okay, well, he did the old cyclic kiss. What happens, the guy will hit the cyclic with his mouth in the crash sequence. So then my priority was, okay, here we are, little black helicopter shot down 300 meters from the bad guys. So I got to get out. I got to get out and make sure we're secure. And, and I knew the guys were there. So there was 5 vehicles in the recce team. And I looked at my co-pilot, I put my hand on his shoulder, and I said, hey, man, get out. And I said, meet me over here, because you don't want to get in front of an armed aircraft, because you don't know if a rocket might go off. And I didn't know any of the conditions until I got out. It was the whole back cargo area was on fire. And when I came to, I was kind of hanging there in the straps, and I was like, what is all that popping sound? That sounded like popcorn. Well, that was ammo cooking off in the ammo cans behind me. I mean, they're right behind me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's not good. And then I had 17-pound rockets on board. So I'm like, well, what's going to happen when these rockets heat up or catch on fire? Will they explode, or, what are they going to do? So I crawled out of the helicopter. I grabbed my rifle, and I tried to stand up. My right leg wouldn't work. I tried to take a step, and I just hit the ground. And then at the same time, the other AH was coming to check on us. They had flown over us, I think, 2 or 3 times. And they told me later, they said, man, if we hadn't seen you crawling out, we were landing, and we thought you guys were dead. And the ground force said the same thing. So they saw me crawling out and get up, and I'd fall and get up. He said, I looked like a circus clown. I'd get up and fall down, get up and fall down. But my right leg wasn't, and they told me later I'd gotten a stinger to that L spine on that right side. And I did finally get up. Then I sat back down, and I thought, well, maybe my leg's broken. So I pulled my pant leg up, checked both legs, checked myself again, and got my rifle, got up, did 360 degrees security around the aircraft to make sure nobody was coming. And I could hear the guys to the east of me. They were getting it on. Everybody was shooting at this point, and they were on the radios and, trying to get some help in there. And then I went back to the aircraft we carry our little rucksacks right behind us. So in there, was water, hand grenades, or night vision goggles, and, just stuff that you need. Well, it was fully engulfed in fire. So I'm like, I'm not reaching my arm in there to get that out. And then I went back, I checked on the co-pilot again, and he was hanging there just kind of dazed and confused. I was like, hey, you okay? And he's like, just shook his head. And I said, all right. I said, you got to get out. The helicopter's on fire. I said, I ain't kidding. So I kind of crawled back out, went back out, and I kind of took a knee. And I was looking to the east. And then I looked back, and I said, where in the world is he? So I crawled back. I crawled in the helicopter, and I pulled his latch on his seatbelt. And he fell down. Boink. And he hit his head, and he kind of looked up, and I guess it kind of brought him back to what the heck was going on. So I just grabbed. Fire was just licking at his arm when I got in there. And I said, man, I got to get him out of here right now. So I just grabbed him, pulled him up on top of me, and just pushed. I just pushed with my legs out of the aircraft to get him out. Kind of rolled him over, and then did a quick assessment on him. And what had happened, he bitten through his tongue in the crash sequence, and that's where all the blood came from. Yeah. He'd had L spine injuries, and we were all pretty beat up, pretty bad. I had over a total like 34, 35, 36 surgeries, and I have over 40 pieces of titanium in my body. So, yeah, another day at the office for a 6-gun.
You describe your actions during the crash with such clarity. how you were at 165 feet, how long did it take you to fall, to plummet from 100, all these actions you're describing, all these thoughts that are going on, how long did it take you to go from 165 feet to the ground?
Approximately 3.4 seconds. Yeah, they took all the data and sent it down to Fort Rucker, and they put it to, replay it. And one of the guys told me that the machine couldn't successfully land the helicopter with all the tailwinds, the airspeeds, the height, the data. That it was impossible to successfully land the helicopter.
It is absolutely amazing to me that you sat there and spent 5 minutes going into detail of each of your actions, of your awareness of the auto rotate, of all the things you were doing, and that was within a 4-second period of time.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the whole sequence was about 8 seconds from the time we stopped rolling, got on slid, and came to rest. Yeah, it's about 8 seconds.
What do you attribute all that to, Greg, that you were able to successfully survive that? I mean, is that your training? Is that the man upstairs looking over your shoulder?
That's training and the good Lord saying, okay, I'm not done with you yet, mister.
So it's daytime. The balloon goes up. You're at buyout. You fly during the day to help out your brothers. And of course, now that you're down, the Air Force is going to do the same, correct? They're coming to get you.
No, they're not. They refuse to come get us. Yeah, Theater Dedicated Combat Search and Rescue, Air Force Special Operations Helicopter. Now, I'm not saying the pilot, I don't know, but the troop commander says, hey, Greg, come here. You need to hear this. They said, we're not coming to get you. It's too risky.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And simultaneously, back at BIOP, so the word gets there, well, they've got every helicopter, every little bird, every Black Hawk, and to listen to the guys tell a story is kind of funny. They had woke everybody up, green, red, brown, said it looked like the Clampets. Dudes were hanging off the helicopter because they were coming to get us.
Yeah.
And I finally got on the radio, and I called our talk, and I said, hey, sir, we're secure, okay? Docs, the medic was there, working on us, and I said, I do not want any more helicopters coming in here. Of course, we have a procedure and a process. When that happens, we get fixed wing overhead. We clear an area for, 5 miles or 3 miles, whatever, 10 miles. And to ensure, the safety of those aircraft that are, I know that always really kind of made me angry, because I told those guys, let me tell you something. I would have come and got you, man.
Right.
I would have.
Who did come?
I don't care what they said.
No.
Who did come and get you ultimately?
Well, so I kind of go back. So, it was one of the 160 of Blackhawks. We finally got to Ramadi, up to the MSS, up there on the northeast side of Ramadi.
They rode.
That staging area, and they landed. And
you guys exfilled with the assault with the ground forces all the way back to the MSS. Yeah. The MSS is the mission support site. So ultimately, nobody came and got you until you were back behind the wire.
In secure area.
Yeah. So the boys got you out who were on the ground for that mission.
Oh yes, sir. Yeah. And we were. I'd gotten the co-pilot out, and I set up in just a bit of a defilade, and I put him in the prone facing north, and I was on the knee facing east for security. And I told him, I said, hey, if you hear something or see something, because we were both pretty jacked up, and I said, just sing out. So let's put both sets of eyes. We'll put both gun barrels on them. He had his rifle. I had my rifle. And, we'll assess this before we start shooting at anyone. And then, a few minutes later, I heard a truck engine. And then I heard the vehicle stop. And then I saw this ball cap, kind of going up and down. Then I saw a face, and I go, "Oh, that's Chaz." Okay. I said, "Hey, we're good to go." Okay, good guys are here, and Chaz came running up to us, but I was talking to him a few months or sometime later. I asked, "Well, what did you think? When you came running up there?" And he's like, "Man, that helicopter was burnt to the ground and ammo was cooking off." He said, we kind of gave a look to each other when I left that that y'all had perished."
Yeah.
And he said, when I came running over that, and I saw, he says, "How did those two Rangers get there so fast?" Because we were at one north one, and he was like, because we were in desert, BDUs and looked like everybody else. But he was like, "Oh God, that's gravy." "Okay, man, let's go." Yeah, he ran up and hugged us, and he asked me, he says, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to go find that guy and kill him." I said, I at least want to check that building to see if there were any dunnage or if we could get anything to. And the both guys that had seen the shot, every surface air missile leaves a signature, a smoke trail signature. It's dark gray smoke, or white smoke, and they'd seen the corkscrew, and everyone has a signature corkscrew smoke trail. And they said, "Man, it was a 16, I guarantee you." But they had done forensics on what they scooped up, and they found a small piece of metal that came from an SA-16.
Wow.
That's what got us.
So Chaz says,
I think,
and you say, "I want to go get that guy." And so what happens?
Well, we load up, and we got two Panders, so it's an armored vehicle, 6-wheel vehicle. We have 3 gun trucks, up armored Humvee gun trucks. One's got a 50. I jump in the truck with the Sergeant Major and Ranger Smith. He's on dual 240s, and the next gun truck's got a 50. So we assault this bill by Amarillo. And I was like, okay, I asked for this, so we're going to go get some. Of course, Doc was poking us and pushing stuff in her throats. So everybody's shooting at these buildings. And I kind of looked to the right, I kind of looked to the left, and, I'll age myself, but Dave, you may remember Rat Patrol?
Yeah.
That show? Well, that's the first thing that entered my mind was those crazy Brits and their Jeeps in North Africa hunting Germans. And I was like, man, this is kind of cool. It reminds me of the Rat Patrol, So anyway, so we hit the building and we get 2 of the trucks get stuck in the mud in the middle of this gunfight. So we're suppressing, and the Pander maneuvers. He backs up to one truck, and guy jumps out of the back, with a strap to the Humvee under fire and pulls that truck out, and then maneuvers over to us and hooks the strap up, and we're suppressing and pulls us out. We get turned around, we go around, and we attack these buildings in the front. And Ranger Smith had engaged. It was a big tent. There's some guys running around there with AKs, and then we had deployed out. When the truck was stuck, I'd gone to the left corner, and dude came out he had a black man dress on with a phone, and I'm like, okay, this guy's calling his buddies. Hey, the Americans are here. They're stuck. We just shot their helicopter down, so I popped him twice. Some 75 grain love, and then Ranger Smith joined in and engaged with the dual 240s, and then we saw a couple guys running. One had an RPG, one had an AK, so I engaged both of them, and then everybody they were engaging targets of opportunity,
and Greg,
and then we finally got to the building and cleared it, and went on the roof and cleared it. There was nothing there. So we got back in, and we fought our way back out of there. And fought our way through Fallujah, and between Fallujah to Ramadi, and fought our way through Ramadi, and then to the MSF. And we got there at about, it was probably 9:30, 21:30 hours that night.
And I just want to say that you're no slouch with a long gun either. Like, you're a helicopter pilot, but you're also a three gun competitor, and
yes, sir.
like you shoot a lot.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I was an instructor for VTAC with Kyle after I retired, and yeah, that was by far the best post Army job I ever had. I love to train. I love to shoot three gun, and I shot with the Army Marksmanship Unit for a while. And yeah, I got to train with the best shooters in the world, man. So heck yeah, I love to shoot. I can hold my own pistol, rifle, long gun, AH.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there for the people watching and listening, that it's like, okay, here's this, helicopter pilot running alongside, Rangers and Delta, but you know what you're doing. Like, you're not a strap hanger. You're not like,
no,
the attachment at this point. Yeah.
You bet.
How were your injuries at that point though? How were you able to keep, were you just gutting through it?
Adrenaline.
Yeah.
Yeah, adrenaline's the best drug on the planet, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Doc had wanted to, do something, but I was like, hey, I don't want any morphine or anything like that. I'm good. I just had this terrible headache. When I'd hit the door frame in the crash sequence, and it cracked my helmet.
Wow.
I hit it so hard. I just had this terrible headache. My head hurt for like 9 months. Finally, it went away. So I had a brain bruise.
So
it's all good.
With the headache and the physical injuries, so you get back to the MSS, they fly you back, or from Ramadi, and they fly you back. Do you keep operating? Is that the end? Like, where do you go from here?
No, they took us both to the cache there in Baghdad, and then cache to back home. Our docs at Fort Campbell wanted us home at Fort Campbell, so they're very protective of us, and so we did that. And then I started the process of getting shoulder. I had both shoulders, worked on both knees. I'd broken a vertebrae in C3, vertebrae L3 through L5. And, so with the docs, I sat down with them, we prioritized and started a plan. So I'd get stuff worked on and take, 30, 60, 45, 60 days then I'd go back to the box. Then I'd go do that for 90 to 100 days. Then I came back and had some more surgeries, and I physical therapy, and then I started back flying again, and going back flying rotations till I retired. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. And so we're talking about